Well, hello there. This is Louis, aka Louis the Frenchie Monette, and you're listening to the Frenchie Talks About. Look, on today's episode, we got Mr. Creighton Hobbs. He has a new documentary coming out called How Many Chances? How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on your show, man.
Hey, well, thank you very much for accepting the offer. And apparently, you already heard me on podcast before, so I'm just honored that you decided that was worth your time to jump on and spend an hour with me.
Oh yeah, man, I'm so ready. I have so much so that I'm just like I was thinking about making you another video, except doing nothing but a Pepe Le Pew, montage to it.
there, I don't know why. There's something about like French people. Like the worst part is that I'm not even that part of in the French side, right? I'm in Quebec, but so many people have referenced my accent to Pepe Le Pew, which again, I'm
Yeah,
Quebecois. I'm not French from France, but I'll take it, man. He's an awesome
yeah.
character.
I know it's great. You know.
Uh, but yeah, okay. Well, let's go right into it. Look, this man is a man with a passion about life. Telling stories and giving an interesting perspective. He definitely has a very unique perspective with the route he has in life, his journey and his experience. So yeah, this documentary, How Many Chances, Mr. Hobbs,
Mhm.
it's very personal and it's very intimate. What pushed you to go in that direction, to expose yourself, for a whole world and really have the guts of telling your own story?
Well, I was like, okay, I put myself into an audience,
Hmm.
and when I mean the audience, I'm talking about the whole world. And I would think, okay, if somebody was in Poland, what would be something that would attract me if I was Polish, and I lived in Krakow, and I was like, what would say I wouldn't see this? And I was like, well, I want to give them the real deal truth. I want to give it
Hmm.
to you out front, to the best of my ability of filming and recreation, but I wanted it to say, I wanted you to feel like I was right there sitting next to you, drinking coffee, eating your food, and
Hmm.
saying, this is what happened. And if
Hmm.
you're willing to listen, this is my tale to tell.
And it's a very interesting tale. I mean, a lot of people can say, I've been through a lot, and it's been a hard journey. But if sometimes you look in retrospect, what you went through, Mr. Hobbs, is positive as it is negative. It's life itself. But some people don't get what you get in a 10 years span for their entire lives. You've been through
Right.
such a up and down journey. um and again, it's let's start with how your documentary starts as well. Is you are a miracle child. Technically, you were not supposed to be here.
Right. That is right. With that, I mean, without trying to give away, spoilers, but to keep people, like wanting to watch it,
Mm,
um, my mom, she really gets emotional telling people about, it's like well, I remember one time she had her a friend over,
mm,
and she, they were just talking about kids and this and that, and
mm,
she she looked over at me and she was like, that one right there was not supposed to be here.
mm,
And this is the first time I ever heard her say it. And I was like, what are you talking about?
mm,
And she said, no. She's like, son, you're a miracle child. There is no way that you should have been born. And she's like, that's where, if you was ever to tell a story about your life, start off there.
mm,
She's like,
mm.
literally, she was like, you wasn't supposed to be here at all.
And like, technically, I am a miracle child too. When I came out of my mom's womb, the umbilical cord was so tight around my neck that I was blue.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
and it gave. I don't know if it's just me. I do have sometimes some wild thoughts, and I like to go into the metaphysics of things and the weirder stuff of life. But I really find that going through that kind of experience right off the bat of your first moments of breath changes you right off the bat. You're not like the rest of the world, right? There's something I find always unique about myself, and the way I thought was very different. And the more I thought about it, the more it's like I already had a different experience than most people right off the bat in the womb, right? Do you find it's the same thing on your end?
I do. I feel like, and like me and you, we're both miracle children.
Mm,
And if you've like Googled or researched miracle
mm,
children, and they all kind of have that same, uh, like there's a purpose, there's a reason,
mm.
there's there's some type of something, why we're here.
And there's a
And
curiosity as well.
and a lot of times some people would say, I just made a difference in one person's life, but then there's some people that makes it to the masses. And but you know uh, you never know. I mean, with miracle children, if they can change one person, it's like um oh gosh, what is that M. Shalom movie where it was that writer, and M. Shalom himself was he wrote that book, and then that
Oh
one,
yeah, yeah.
you
He
know what I'm talking
becomes.
about?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The one with that was Howard and
Hmm.
oh, good lord, why am I blanking?
Hey,
I
right,
hate
I
when I
know.
blank. Give me. It's gonna annoy me until I freaking find this. Give me a second. IMDb. M Night Shyamalan. I hate like it.
I
This is why I don't. This
know.
is why I don't do movie trivia, man. I would.
Right, me either. Yeah, I'm like, what's that movie? This is why I need people like John around that can remember the movies. The
And
name.
this is how we kind of. By the way, might as well tell about it since I am doing research. Um, John is how we met, basically, right? I think you discovered me on John podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I heard you was doing a podcast. You've done some podcast with him and stuff. Yeah,
So, some movie stuff, which is funny why I'm blanking. Lady in the Water.
that's it. Lady in the Water. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So remember that character M. Shalom Knight was the author in that,
Hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
and he was writing a book, but
Mm-hmm.
the Lady in the Water was like, you're going to write a book, and not now, but the future, this kid is
Mm,
going to read that book and then become the greatest leader of America, and
mm.
is going to change the world for the better. And I feel like miracle children, the smallest, kindest act that we are, that we do, that one positive, you never know. That
Yeah,
might.
it's a wrinkle, right?
Hmm.
One generous act will, influence and do a positive thing in someone's day, but you don't know, that to what extent that could actually go to. They pass it on. They were generous to someone else, and next thing you know, you've just that kid that you helped that helped another kid. The second kid, decides to stop doing drugs and
Hmm.
giving and finally receive love or receive a kind of generosity by a stranger, change his life, and next he's saving life with being a doctor. It might seem
That's right.
far-fetched, but if astronauts were influenced by Star Trek, it's
Right.
like anything can influence us, anything can have an impact on us. And I think be if miracle children or not, I think as a whole it's important to have a
Yeah.
philosophy, because words and actions have consequences, be if positive or negative.
Yeah. I agree. I totally 100% agree. And And so that to me, I've always believed, trying to turn a negative into a positive.
Hmm.
You know,
And which
whether
is it's not easy sometimes because sometimes life can
yeah,
be so dark and there's moments that everything like you just feel swallowed up, right? So
hmm
where do you even begin finding the light? It's somewhere, but it's so hard moving around to find that light to sometimes get out of it.
I mean, like, there's always a light, though. There's always a positive. Like for example, like right now, you being a new dad, I'm sure
Mm.
you're not getting that much sleep, right?
What is sleep? I just
Right.
completely
Well, when your daughter, and she's old enough and she has her own family, and she's
mm.
like, I am getting no sleep, and you can say, aha, yeah, are you? That's when you get that big smile on your face, just like your dad and does with you.
Yeah, and I mean having my daughter changed my perspective completely. But it's funny, is having my daughter. I already knew a bit what I would love to do as a dad, but for a long time, if you don't mind, I'll share on my side.
Sure.
A long time, I was been told I have very low chance to have kids, especially with my ex. We were not very optimal, and I had a very low percentage because of medical conditions. And it just happened with my girlfriend now of 2 years. It just happened like that. It was like out of nowhere because hers as well had extremely lower chances maybe than my ex, and it just happened. So in another source, she's a miracle baby, not medically like the danger of birth, but with the circumstances, we wished our love wished her into
Oh,
existence almost.
that's sweet, man. That is great. Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. That just proves right there that miracles really do
Mm-hmm.
happen. They really do.
You really do, and you don't have to be religious to have that. Because
Mm.
I'm not a religious in a traditional sense, but I do understand there's things that you can't always explain, but just happen, and you have to embrace it, right?
That's
And
right.
there's something out there that balances out sometimes the good and the bad. Now, talking about that, the good, the bad, balancing life itself, with my daughter, there's so many worries that's gonna come ahead, right?
Mhm.
Like the choices she's gonna make, the people she's gonna base a bit of her personality around, and where she's going in life, her direction, right? And without going too much into spoilers, in your youth, you had a pretty rock and roll youth, right? You made some bad choices, you made some good choices. Uh, my question to you is, if someone's listening to this podcast right now and is down a path of like uh, heavier drugs, or losing yourself, needing to get away your emotional baggages with drugs and the wrong people and the wrong actions, what would you say to them based off your experience?
Well, if somebody is, got a kid that
Hmm.
is just, you know, going through those rebellious teenage years, um, they're gonna go and be rebellious, but
Hmm.
always give them the option of
Hmm.
saying, "Look, if you're going out there and getting drunk, you know, just call me or call your aunt or your uncle, and they will always come and pick you up. We will not
Hmm.
fuss at you at that time. We will wait till you're sober. Then we'll have the sit down." But we would rather you be safe
Hmm.
versus going out there and trying to drive home drunk and killing yourself and maybe somebody else type of thing, you know?
Yeah, because otherwise, usually it's a cry for help, or
Mhm.
if we're at that point, and it's because you're escaping something, right?
Right.
You're fleeing something, and you're not necessarily happy at your natural state. You need something to alter your emotional state to put yourself in a position not to think about the things that usually haunt you. So if you don't mind me getting a bit personal, what was haunting you in your youth that you had to do that kind of rebellious phase? What were you trying to escape? Be it specific or a certain emotion.
Well, I think with me, the reason I went off and did what I was doing was, uh, I think I was trying to band aid myself from
Hmm.
the situation that I was in high school and junior high. It was a very, very racist environment. And I think as well, I made it worse because I got myself involved with the Dixie Mafia, a mafia figure, type of thing.
What is
And
I heard that before in like in the documentary. I don't we don't really know who they are, and for those who don't, what is the Mafia?
okay, so basically, they are like, are you familiar with the Ku Klux Klan?
Yes.
Okay, they were an offshoot of the Ku Klux Klan,
Okay.
except they weren't. How can I say this? They weren't like as racist. They they had the concept of everybody's money was just as green as the next person. You
Okay.
know, they didn't hate you because you were black or Asian or something. They were just like, they didn't care. But they were just very Southerners, redneckish.
I-
Is what I
I-
put it.
if you're not us, we don't care. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I mean, now that don't mean that they weren't a they weren't racist. I mean, by
mm,
no, because the name of their clique or thing was Dixie Mafia. So,
yeah.
but they weren't the type of like just because you were black, that don't mean they were going to lynch you. No, they were like, well, as long as you didn't mess up, as in doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing,
Mhm.
you didn't have to deal with them.
Okay. And like, how did you get, seduced by that kind of like atmosphere and get yourself involved? What was like the tipping point that when you made you go see like, okay, I kind of found my family at first.
Well, what with me, I've always been, uh, I guess you would say, like the investigative journalist mind,
Mhm. Okay.
or I've always said I should have went to school to,
Mm.
college, and got it in journalism to be an investigative journalist. I've just curiosity's always gotten the best of me. It really has.
Yeah, and like it's enticing, especially like if it's new, right? Sorry, the cranky baby decided to wake up.
Wake up, yeah.
Yeah, now I lost my train of thought. Great. Um, okay, you know what? Unless you remember what I was saying.
About I just spoke about maybe the journalist, and that's what
Yes.
I should have been.
Yeah, but so you had a natural curiosity and something enticed you to really just understand more. Now, at what point did you snap and you say like, okay, I might have put myself over my head here. This is not exactly what I'm comfortable with. Again, without revealing too much, which is discussed in the documentary, is there like a specific moment, aha moment, you went like, "Eesh, okay, I have to change."
Yeah, that was when I was thrown in jail. So
Mm.
jail time, that will for sure. Whoop! That'll wake you up quick.
Eh, if you can, because I have never been to jail, and there's only a certain percentage of population that goes to jail. Uh, Now, could you describe me in maybe a phrase or two? How would you describe jail for someone who's never been there?
Well, the jail that I was at, that was, I mean, jail is jail, but
Mm,
when I went, it was in Mississippi, okay?
mm,
And it was in 94.
yeah.
So they did not have uh, standards of more, I guess you would say, humane standards is the
Mm,
more correct way of putting it. It was like a time zone. I mean, it was like, oh my god, is this for real? I mean, like, there was things that I witnessed that I was like, oh god, why I didn't say that in the documentary. You know what I
mm,
mean? It was
mm,
like stuff you would read about, or
mm.
like, for example, I mean, just, and I did not put this in the documentary, but I'll say it on your show. Um, I saw a guy just get raped right in front of me.
Wow.
I mean, it was just
Yeah,
pure, it
that's
was
heavy.
like animal on animal, really.
And okay, so you're in that situation, right? You've seen things that you've never imagined you would see. Where's your psyche at? Are you does that motivate like I'm never going back again, or are you just broken at that point? Where's your psyche at? What were you thinking?
Oh, God. It made me never, ever want to go back there for sure. I mean, if you wanted a wake up call of, I'm never going to do this again, and yeah, go spend about a week in Mississippi jail. I mean, back then, it was a total, like, you would come to your knees and say, "Dear God, if I can just get out of this place, I promise I will walk the straight and narrow to my best ability." And that is what it is. It's like if I ever get I guess you would say a temptation or something tempting of like, hey, you could go and do this. I think to myself, I don't want to do it because I could have spent 3 years of my life living and seeing in this horribleness. And no thanks. I don't want, no. That was that's what it woke me up to.
Now, did you like some people turn to God, some people turn like they find themselves when they realize they're just not made to be a criminal. And this is not them, right? They made a bad choice. It's they've learned a lesson. Now on to other things. Um, did movies become your thing to get out of jail, or was there not get out of jail, but stay out of trouble, or was there any person per se that influenced you to go on the right track? What like put you on the right track?
Um, what really put me on the right track was, well, I realized my mistake
Mm,
and from what I done. And I was like, okay, so how can I not how can I not be a negative? How can I do what I can do to create a positivity? And how can I use what I've always wanted to do? And
mm,
well, I wanted to create, true and real life movies.
mm,
And that's what I did. I started off with, my very first, script and this and that. And then somehow I had mentors that taught me. It was like, well, if you got a script to a movie, you're halfway there. Now you got to figure out how to make it. And
mm.
and then after that, it's just, and that's what I did with it. I was like, well, you know,
And that goes for anything, right? Not just movies. If
mm-hmm,
just because you don't have the experience or the know-how, of experience to do something that you've never done before. That shouldn't stop you. That should just encourage you, saying, I'm diving into something new and I'll be a different person at the end of that specific journey, and I can grow, right? Same thing for me for podcasts. I mean, I've said this in the past couple past shows, but I was in a dark place. I was in a relationship for 8 years with a good person, but not made for me. But that made me slip into, moments of just not loving myself and not being happy for a good 7 years of my
Yeah.
life, and slowly destroying myself in multiple ways, emotionally,
Yeah.
physically. I just didn't give a fuck anymore, and
Mm.
to the point that I became physically ill. They pinpointed something maybe for neurological stuff, and they were right for a certain part, but also there's a lot of anxiety, more attached to why I was doing convulsions, etc. And I had to change my life around.
Yeah.
I found my girlfriend, etc., but I still wasn't happy, right? I still wasn't. Something was missing. I needed to venture onto something. I've never done podcasts to save my life. There's something happened in my head one day, and just like, I'm doing this. I have no clue what the fuck I'm doing, but I'll do it. And I just jumped into it, and you just you
Right.
be, and you become someone else.
Yeah,
I
you
haven't been
sound
happier in
like
my
me
life.
with the films. Yeah.
And that's the type of attitude
Right.
you need to have
And
sometimes,
that's to me, yeah. And see, you sound like what with the way it was with me with making movies. I didn't go to school. I just I had no idea what in the name of God or hell I was doing, but I was gonna do it, you know.
yeah, for better or worse,
Hmm.
sometimes the journey itself is as or more important than the actual final results. Is you discover some new aspect of yourself. I've always been told, like, I've been in customer service all my life, and always been told I have like a radio voice, I have personality, but in my head it's like, I can never like hold a conversation or find anything interesting. And then at one point I'm like, I actually like sound good. Something's happening, and I just start loving myself,
Right.
finding a purpose. But again, I've only been in this in 6 months, but I've changed something inside to the point that I can't look back anymore. This is who I am. Would I do podcasts the rest of my life? I don't know. But it opened something in me to want to try something else maybe I've never tried before, but that won't stop me now because I've done that aspect. I've done things I've never done before and I've succeeded. So now I know that I can do other things too. So it's important to have
Mhm.
those moments.
That is great. That is so great. Oh gosh, that makes me just like, oh wow, that is so awesome. I wouldn't. It makes me feel like whew, I wasn't the only person that just went in it and just chased after it and made it happen.
And it's not easy. I know you mentioned that
Mm-mm.
that aspect in the documentary, that there's moments, you've made mistakes. There's like a couple of facepalm moments, but that's what life is, right? And that's why it's scary, but it's so rewarding because
Mm-hmm.
the things you learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That is so right. I mean, it's just the
go ahead.
oh, no, okay. Sorry, you was kind of breaking up, but I don't know if it was my connection or what.
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Say, you were saying?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. It was you was kind of like breaking up to
Yeah.
me on my end, but I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, look, might as well in that case go to question, another question. Um, Now, you seem like someone who understand more life now. Got a perspective of a lot of sides of life, not just one perspective, but really accumulated experience and pain and joy. But that being said, even though you've learned more and you've feel probably more accomplished in life. What still to this day keeps you up at night? Hello?
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now I can hear you better.
All right. Did you hear
Sorry,
my question?
you was breaking up.
Not a problem. Did you hear my question?
About right where you broke up was where I feel calmer. I think.
Yeah, you feel like you see. Anyways, from what I saw, you seem very put together, a very smart man, a lot of experience, and seem in a better place in your life, right? But what to the still to this
Mhm.
day that would still keep you up at night, even like including today? Is there something that still like makes you worry, even with all the experience and all the life you've lived?
Well, yeah. With that would be well is the aspect of what I went through with my godchildren, and
Okay.
anytime anyone loses a child, I
Mm,
mean that's just a horror nightmare.
mm,
But that to me is that anybody who has a child or and it don't matter if they're brand new in their life or they're 20 years old. I mean,
mm.
that's just the most scary and horrific thing that you could think of. And that to me is the one deal, the one thing that I went through personally with my godchildren that still keeps me up at night. Yeah, it just really is.
Yeah, it's no matter what your relationship, if you were in love with them as people, right? It's like they're little beings that you couldn't wait to see them grow older and see what they would choose as careers and as girlfriend, boyfriend, as their own kids. Your mind wanders. Like even me and my girlfriend, like our baby's
Hmm.
4 weeks old, and we're like, she's gonna be a UFC fighter, Uh, if something would happen to Luna Jade, it's
Right.
like all those things you fantasized when they were with us on this earth kind of becomes almost haunting, right? Because you'll never have the answers to those questions, so it's got to be resonating sometimes. How do you deal with when it comes in spikes and it hurts you? How do you deal with that pain?
Well, the way I go and deal with it is okay, what would Natalie and Chase, my godchildren, what would they want me to be doing? What is it that would they want me sitting in a room, like all upset?
Mm,
Or would they want me out there doing what I do
mm,
and making new stories to tell and different things of that nature? And I would be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want me sitting in a dark room, upset. They would want me out there, you know what? Get out there and make something. Show us something we ain't seen before. So that I feel like is something that I use to turn that
mm.
negative into a positive.
Yeah, and this is for anyone who's lost someone dear to them, lost their children, anyone that like even recently it's still lingering inside, right? And you
Hmm.
can't really see the how they can move on because the pain is so real. Keep in mind, things always hurt and probably will still hurt. I hate when people say, "Oh, things will be better in time." Yeah, okay, but it's the journey so painful that sometimes in the moment you just want to cry 24/7, right? Um, but if they can't do it anymore, if they can't have a voice in life and make a change, you can, right?
Hmm.
you can make a difference in their name. You can make
Yep.
an impact they could have made an impact on, but it's your torch to carry. And I kind of feel the same, including your story, because I got almost weepy at one point. There's some very heartbreaking stuff you in details you've mentioned around what happened to them, and you didn't have to, right? You could have just
Yeah.
kept in and deal with the pain by not necessarily approaching it in the movie, but you carried their name, you carried their voice that needed to be heard, because this they were bad happening to them, right? But at least by
Yeah.
sharing their story, maybe you can help someone that to avoid that kind of situation. They can see like, hey, that's what's happening to me right now, or I can see this going in this direction, and I can do something. I can avoid what has been done to them and step up and you know and do something about it and not just let it happen.
Exactly. And that to me is perfect that it reached, or it might, you know, if somebody is, seeing something or even suspects it, then you know what? They can take action right then
Mm,
and be like, well, you know what? I'm glad someone overreacted than not reacted to
yeah,
me.
but it's funny. We live in a day and age of paparazzi, and everyone wants to know everything about the most mundane things. And when someone does something, not that bad, but still like a whole controversy, but people shut up about the things they should actually speak up on and actually put their nose in, and
Hmm.
actually give a fuck about. And most
Yep.
people don't, because they live in their own bubble. And um I don't know if we're heading in that direction, especially with COVID and everything. I think we're going to become even more of an egotistical bubble society, and that scares me for my daughter.
Yeah.
But thank God there's people like you that wants to give those people a voice, the people that don't have a voice anymore, and carry on that torch.
Oh, thank you. And I think each and every one of us, we all have that human instinct, that
Mm,
human nature about us. Now, with that, there's going to be always the good and the bad.
mm,
And I think that, with all of us, when whatever situation we're going through,
mm,
if we can, if we see something bad happening, it's up to us to react the right way or the bad,
mm,
if you see somebody, for example, that it's not a great situation, it's either you can fight or flight with it.
mm.
You know?
Yeah, and again, I can't speak for others. I'm usually the because sometimes it's dangerous. You hear these news reports that a man intervened in a couple's fight and actually gets killed, by just trying to
Right.
help the woman. So the world's such a crazy place that doesn't take much, as does not take much to shake up life and lose it. And that actually, before I go into that, I have one last thing. And again, this is to your discretion. If this is too hard to talk about, we can skip it. But if you're okay with it, I would want to know if you had the chance to had one last small conversation with your godchildren, what would you say to them?
Oh gosh. One, um, I would, if I had that chance, just to speak to them again. I would tell them, I love you, and I love you with everything inside of me. I would tell them, you know, you are going to not ever going to have to go through anything bad because from this point out, I am going to kidnap you, and I don't give a damn what happens to me. You are going to be safe, and I am going to have you in my house, and I am just going to spoil you and let you live and love and have life all the way
Mm.
through it.
Yeah. See, like, I again, definitely not the same circumstances, but I get where you're going from. Yeah, when I was younger, my one of my first girlfriends had leukemia and sadly passed away. And
Sorry.
oh, hey, it's been a long journey to get over it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but again, with pain comes experience and comes perspective. And I think the one thing I would say to her is, thank you
Right.
for existing into my life, and thank you for giving that small part of you, because that small part of you might you maybe didn't think you'd make this much of an impact, but you did. So thank you.
Oh, oh, thank you, man. That really means a lot. It does. And, it's like, how can I take a negative and turn
Yeah.
it to a positive?
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, talking about positive and negative, um, you again, well, like we said, you've been through a lot, but not just some bad decisions and everything. Hey, man, you some people have one near death experiences. You had a multiple and from different ways, right? Now, again, I don't want to go too much into the detail because you're gonna spoil. I'm gonna spoil the documentary. But did you had a moment that you, after having an almost near death experience, that snapped you and changed your perspective completely, or it was a gradual every time, or how did it evolve that perspective? Because it must be mind shattering.
Hmm. Um, well, when somebody has a life changing experience,
Mhm.
whether it's I'm I just got into a car wreck, or I just saw this most amazing movie,
Mm,
or if it's something that whatever it is in your life, how is your and you have to ask yourself, and I think this really applies to anybody that is going through anything. How is this one experience, how can I take this one experience and make this a impact that will change not only my life but people around me as well for the better.
yeah, and there's no explanation book out there just like how to use your
No.
deaf experience to influence people. You kind of got to do it by gut instinct and just find your calling and use that motivation into your calling, right? And again,
Right.
it's not explained to you. You have to live it and do it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, man. But I can only imagine that that's like for one experience. You had like a multitude of experience, and that affected you. But there's at one point, I like this aspect of your documentary. You put your dad into it, right? And he really explains, the situation. But there's a point that he gets emotional, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
that's
that
right.
that's got to be a toll. Like seeing your child going back and back into different situations, but almost always having that, almost like the cold blue feeling of panic, and like, am I gonna lose my child? Is this it? Is this the moment? Right? Is this gonna happen? I congratulate your dad for going through it, and not break down every time, and seem to be fully there. And so congratulations to your dad. That's got not have been easy to go through.
Oh, I agree, and I'll tell him, when I see him, next go, the next time I see him, I'll tell him, and it's the same thing with my mom. I mean, she got real camera shy.
Okay.
I do not know why she got camera shy. Because oh my God, when she was younger, she was like, "Is that a camera?" And I was like, "Yes, it is, Marilyn Monroe." And she was just like all up that. But she, as well, she understands. She feels the same thing and feels the same way, like how my dad does.
Mm. Um, Now, if you could, let's say, okay, this could be a bit somber. I'm sorry, it's the only example I have in my head. Let's say, how many chances that the next chance was your last chance, right? And before something bad happened, you could actually videotape yourself saying something to them to really encapsulate everything you feel about them and all they did for you. What would you say to them if you knew something was going to happen to you?
I would say one, I am so sorry that I have put you through so much shit. That I would like to say that. I'm sorry, mom, dad. But as well, I would like to say to, and I think goes for anybody that whatever you're going through, um, they and mom and dad and I think this relates to anyone. They could say, "Well, thank you, mom and dad, for not only not only letting me experience that, but showing me what I should
Mm.
have done and showing me now. Oh, okay, now I know." So
Mm.
it's kind of like, thank you for teaching me that.
Mm. Yeah, and like, I'm lucky enough to still have my parents, and and death is a funny thing, right? Because and when everything to do with death or just the end of a chapter sometimes, um, of life is hard thing to swallow because you know it's coming. I have anxiety. Death gives me anxiety, either of like someone loved one or myself. It's always something that I can never escape out of my mind because that everyone goes through it. It's gonna happen.
Mhm.
But if you realize that and not just dwell in the fear of it, not just go like it's gonna happen, and paralyzes you, there's another aspect you can unlock. And I've grew much closer to my dad than I was younger, and I've learned a lot about him that I would have never learned if I wouldn't have opened up and I wouldn't have let him open up, right? So I let that fear of one day he will go away, but I've ensured myself that I wouldn't have the regrets of I should have taken the time to get to know him, the real him, not the dad side when I was younger, always telling me no, like do we when I get back, do the goddamn dishes,
Yeah.
and just seeing the father figure, but to see the man behind the father figure was
Mhm.
really something that motivated me to really truly understand because I knew that eventually he will end, and it was
Right.
now or never,
And that is so great that you were able to say, wow. And maybe if people watch, like, How Many Chances, they will be able to open up their
Mm.
eyes and their eyes, heart,
So
and everything to say, you know what? Now I know.
All right. Well, look, thank you. This pretty much wraps up this episode of the Frenchie Talks About. Look, Mr. Hobbs, thank you very much again for taking your time and really also opening up on my show and giving me the chance of like picking your brain a bit. So thank you very much, man.
Oh gosh, thank you for having me on your show, man. And I am just like not only honored, but I am like, wow, I hope that that they'll get curious enough to go and give it a watch, that kind of thing. They was like, hey, did you know that Frenchie? He actually had this redneck from Alabama, and it's really a great story. Let's go watch it.
I said to my girlfriend too because you're not the first person from the South I keep having in my multiple shows. There's something about me and Southern people from the USA that just attracted together apparently. But look, yeah, man, I'm new into this. I'm just lucky to have guests on my show and seem to enjoy having conversations with me. So look, this probably won't be the last time you're on the show. And look,
Awesome.
if ever you do have the chance, go look it up whenever it is available. I know right now you're still working on certain things, but check how many chances. Do a Google alert if you can, even because it's really worth taking your time and understanding this man's journey. It's you can relate to one part of this documentary. He's been through that much things in his life, and it's a really interesting watch. So that being said, where can he find you if ever you want to contact you?
Oh, basically, yeah. I guess if people want to know or what's up or how to contact me, uh, my big thing is, well, I guess it would have to be through Facebook.
All right.
So if anybody or like, okay, I saw this journey that I went and watched this journey, this crazy, amazing journey, right? And they were like, now what? Yeah, because that's always the thing. Everybody's like, now
And now what?
what? Yeah, what is he doing now? Well, they can always come to, I guess, not only how many chances Facebook page, but there'll be always. There'll be other avenues out there for
Yeah, but
not only me but everybody.
I'll make it easy for everyone. You just have to don't forget to send me the link for the how many chances Facebook. I'll link it into the description. So if you love what we give as a preview today, and you definitely want to follow and know exactly when the movie comes out, I'll put a link in the description. Click on it. Do follow, and you won't regret it. It was a beautiful, interesting watch. On my end, the best way to contact me will be on Twitter, on the Norton Schmoes Twitter. If not, you can always find me in Louis Monette on Facebook. So LouisMonette. All right. Well, again, thank you very much for Mr. Hobbs for your time.
Oh
And
man.
till next time, people. Bye bye.